Hi, Wolfram. How are
Hey,
you?
Stephen.
Well,
I'm good.
welcome to a dreary, rainy day in the Forest of Dean, the Royal Forest of Dean.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. We have like kind of blue skies, and Leipzig is Leipzig is fine again.
Oh,
We had some troubling things going on here over the weekend, but we are good. It was not Leipzig people that were causing the trouble. So in general, we are fine, and everyone is healthy, everyone is safe, and I hope the same goes to you.
we're doing okay. It's a little bit strange right now. We're in our second lockdown, so it means lots of things are not normal, but we're kind of getting there. I think this year has been very demanding, and we'll maybe talk about that at some point.
It's the same
Hey,
here, actually. It's the same
yeah.
here. We are in the second lockdown light, they call it. And the light is, in that sense, it is music and culture and restaurants and bars.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we are the lockdown. The other thing is light, so to speak.
Let's get on to some music. Let's talk a little bit about your history, your personal history of how you came to singing, and I mean you have a unique perspective compared to other a cappella singers in the world. I mean you have a very specific background. Tell us something about that.
Well, my grandparents always told me, and my grandma still tells me, that I sang with the age of 3 already, around their house, in the house, asking for sweets and things like that, which is the reason that, well, never mind. uh, so I was always singing, and at some point there were scouts coming to my school. What is it? Basic school? What's the word for that?
Yeah, sort of
Uh,
elementary school.
Elementary school,
Yeah,
yeah.
primary school.
And they came, and they were looking for young singers for actually the Dresden boys choir, the Kreuzchor, Dresdner Kreuzchor, which
Yeah.
was close to where I was living and where I was born.
And when you say
And
scouts, these were people who were sent out going around schools specifically looking for new young boy talent to be part of the choir.
exactly, it's singing teachers. I understand from these choirs, and they were going around in schools looking for new talent. So they found me, and I passed all the tests, and I went to the Dresden Kreuzchor for 1 year, and they had this system to get rid of half of the pupils that started in the fourth grade. It was for the fourth grade that started in this very first year in the choir, and I was amongst them. And I don't remember that I was so sad, but my parents tell me that I was so sad that they decided to ask in Leipzig if there would be a chance to apply for, being member of that choir.
So this was your
And
first rejection.
exactly,
Oh
it
my
was my
goodness
first.
me. At the tender age of what, 8, 7?
It was no, it was 8 or 9. Yeah.
Wow.
It is. You have to know that I grew up in Eastern Germany. I mean, I really grew up in that system as well.
Yeah.
So when you know that, you also understand that being in a choir like that was one of a few chances to get out to Western Europe or the
Yeah.
Western world, so to speak.
Because the choir would go touring.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The culture and sports were the two things that the GDR was very strong with, and that was bringing in, money,
Yeah.
foreign money, of course, as well. So if you know that, then you understand that also parents were fine with giving their kids to institutions like that. Something that I'm struggling with when I think about my little son. If I would do that, putting
Yeah.
him in that young age in a boarding school. So this is the background a little bit, and so everything went well with the Leipzig idea. So
Yeah.
I came to Leipzig with the age of 9 or 10, and
this
that
was
was it.
Thomanerchor, the choir at
Thomas
St.
Boys Choir.
Thomas's. Yeah. And were
The
they
choir where Johann Sebastian Bach was the final 27 years of his life, and wrote all the best music for, actually.
Yeah. And those two choirs, the Dresdner Kreuzchor and the Thomanerchor, were they basically in competition for the best singers in the area? How did that work?
I'd say so. They are still, actually.
Oh, really?
Because there is not that much singing in families anymore.
No.
And we are trying our best as a group, or as parents, or as musicians in that area, to really bring music into the families again, because there is so much distraction. And this is one of the main topics, I think, for educators and choir directors, choir leaders at the moment, to bring children to sing.
Yeah, we have the same dilemma in the UK. Sometimes we blame it on the school system, that there's not enough singing in the primary level of education. And there are some people who think the demise of people going to church, the demise of the church, parish church, your village church choir, people tend not to go to church that much en masse. So you don't have that kind of grassroots choral making, so and that feeds through to the cathedrals. So our cathedrals kind of hold their own. The standard is still pretty good here, but actually every year there are less and less kids going to the auditions. Yes, the big names will get enough kids going along so they can still choose. But you sometimes hear of fairly kind of major cathedrals having virtually no one turn up for auditions on a yearly basis, and they're having to go out and bring people in.
It's kind of the same problem here. Let's say less for St. Thomas Boys Choir, but it is a problem. It appeared right after the change, after the wall came down. It was becoming a massive problem. It got a little better, and now we have the challenges of the digital world, the digital youth, and all that. It is really challenging, and you need parents, you need families where this is still a value, and the church thing is the same over here. But I understand, England or Great Britain. The choral tradition is pretty much seated in the churches and the cathedrals, and that is it is like that here. But I think we gained in the 19th century. We gained a lot of choral tradition all around, so we might be better off with that problem. But people in church, people don't go to church anymore. This is the same over here.
Yeah. And we too have been kind of blessed with this 19th century choral society tradition in towns. But of course that feeds from people being young and singing and carrying on singing into their later years. And of course, for people who are singing professionally, like you guys, groups around the world rely on audiences who appreciate choral singing. So it's kind of a 360 problem that we kind of have to address because
this is one of the tragic moments of that time that we are in now, because we always try to communicate with our own festival, the a cappella festival, that singing is the first thing music wise that happens, and it speaks from one soul to the other soul on the direct path. And if this is muted, if this is not there, and we have the developments in schools and churches, as we talked about, but also, you know, right in that moment that we cannot sing because exhaling the aerosol could give you the virus. This is so tragic and unbelievably tragic.
Yeah, we used to always say in the King Singers that we knew we were going to go down well with audiences as long as the audience realized what we were doing was kind of special, that it was difficult, that actually singing in tune and making kind of near perfect sounds together is really hard to do. If people don't realize that, it's really hard. So the audience has to have a certain level of kind of vocal, choral experience education, and without that, we're just a kind of soundbite that is kind of, you know, you can get that in studios, you can get that with, you know, all that sort of thing. Interesting. Well, so tell me about.
Well, give me a second. The funny thing is, I just realized recently how hard it is for someone that is not experienced as me to sing in harmony. And I realized that with my 7-year-old girl, she was singing something, and I was just trying to give a second voice to it, and she always got, you know, she came to my voice. So, and I figured out something that I didn't think about ever until now. We were then whistling a melody, and I was whistling a second melody, and there was no problem. Probably because of that technical thing. Well, that was a funny experience, actually, to realize that.
Hey, talking of family, you have singing in your family. Tell us a little bit about the other Lattke singer in the family.
Well, actually, both of my siblings are singing. So my brother, who sang with us, wow, that was just my text declaration. No. My brother was a member of St. Thomas Boys Choir as well.
Martin. Are you quite close in age, or?
Well, he's 3 years younger than me, and so he followed me directly to Leipzig. He didn't take the detour.
He didn't do the Dresdner Kreuz rejection route.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and he became a tenor too after the voice broke, and he sang with us for that was for 5 years, for 6 years, something like that. And then he decided that he wants to do a little bit more, you know, the serious solo stuff, opera and more concerts as an oratorio singer. So that was my brother, and my sister, who is 9 years younger. She is a jazz drummer, but she sings so amazingly well. I heard her singing her own songs, and I thought, wow. I mean, it was really touching. I never really heard her sing before. And then she, in her own band, she was the drummer in the band, and she had her own songs written as well. And she sang that. So this is, you know, just the siblings. But my wife is a singer too.
Yeah, gosh, you're surrounded by singers.
I am surrounded by singers. So I need another hobby.
Tell me, let's chat a little bit about amarcord and how you guys were at the Thomaner Corps together at the same time.
Except the youngest of us that came when my brother left in 2013.
The newest,
the newest,
but the original
one,
guys.
He was not even born when the group was founded.
Wow.
But the four of us, the other four, we shared some time together in the choir. We are different ages as well. And actually, I am not a founding member. I came 3 years later. So I am joining the club this year, the Silver Club. I have the Silver Wedding with 25 years in the group this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I don't remember amarcord without your face. I just don't. And why is that? is that presumably the profile wasn't as, it was still building. And tell us how the group the original guys got together, and how they, what inspirations, and how they became the professional group.
Yeah, it started. It started with this singing in St. Thomas's Boys Choir. The man amongst the singers. By the way, the system is different from other choirs, from other boys choirs, because we're not a boys choir in that sense. We are boys, sopranos and altos, and then we stay in the choir for the voice break and do other stuff. And then we are the men, we are the tenors and the basses, but you stay in the choir for 9 years, from the age of 9 until the age of 18. And when you finish school, you finish the choir as well. So the men, the tenors and the basses, used to sing, when we left with the buses for a tour in Germany, or they were singing after the concert with a beer. And so that was the tradition. And some of them, clinged better together, and they decided to sing on celebrations. There is a celebration where they wanted to have the St. Thomas Boys Choir, and they couldn't get it. So, you sang there and you got 50 euros there. Well, Deutschmark in those times. And so that was kind of the route. And then in 92, 6 of them decided to come together as an ensemble, and then they were looking for a name, and I think they were looking for the normal names with numbers or composers or something like that. At some point, someone came up with Amarcord, the movie by Federico Fellini. And so they decided that would make a nice name, and it has an A, so it's always in front. And and the meaning is great. It says in the dialect of the Emilia Romagna, I remember, and we do remember so many things, with this group, our time in the choir, times in musical history and all that. So that was the perfect name, and I still find it the perfect name for us. And there was some, finding out in the years between 92 and 95, who can sing what and how to sing, what to sing and all that. And in 95, one left, and they asked me to join the group. And then, so they were singing like spirituals and romantic choir, men's choir music. That was the repertoire that they were using, and some madrigals, and they tried madrigals. And when I came, actually, Holger, our deep bass, or very low bass, he was singing in falsetto the madrigals when they wanted to sing them.
Wow.
Well, yes, wow. So, we saw the need to figure out if someone else can do it also. So I figured out that I have a quite high voice, and I took over. I sang this Renaissance stuff that they wanted to sing, and otherwise I was the first tenor, the high tenor. And from then on, things, settled in the lineup. Then another one left, and we were auditioning, and we were thinking of, putting another tenor to the group. But we were happy with the number 5, and we understood each other very well. And, as I said, we settled more and more. So we left it with the 5. We just stayed 5 people. And then we had the first workshops. It was the time when the Hilliards had Officium out. And
great album.
And Holger and Daniel, our bassists, they were such fans, and they went to Weimar to a concert with Jan Gabarek and the Hilliards, and they brought back this sheet of paper where it said newsletter, and you can apply for the workshop in Cambridge, the early music workshop. And we were all so we should apply. And I mean, it's really funny if you think about it now. We were really afraid that they could reject us, taking part in that workshop. And we were so happy when they agreed that we can come over. And we stayed in a very, I shouldn't say that word, at a bad hotel in London when we arrived. And then we went to Cambridge, and we stayed in Trinity Hall College. And next to me was Gordon having his room. We thought, wow, they are staying with us in that college. And it was
and
really,
that was the beginning of they were a big influence on you guys.
Absolutely.
And became very good friends.
Yes, and it was such an experience to get to know them, to get to know their approach, how to sing. Of course, we were talking about you guys as well, and that their approach would be not to agree on everything right before. Or in the rehearsals, but to go more with the flow of the day or of the moment, and that was very impressive. And of course, later on, we went to the King Singers course in Lübeck as well, and we figured out that there is so many different valuable influences that you can get as a young singer and a young group, and you really should grab them. You have to be yourself. You have to understand what is important for your approach. What do you want to put into your group and performance? But there is so many ideas that all have their right to exist. That you should not, you end up as a copy of someone if you just go after one opinion.
And every group has to overcome its problems, whether they're sound problems, interpretation problems, connecting with audiences. And every group is made up of different people, so they have different problems. So exactly. That's fantastic. I mean, not many groups have had this wonderful, I mean, you had a close relationship with the Hilliards, and we first met in a workshop scenario. It just seems such a long time ago now. It is a long time ago.
It is a long time.
So tell me, I mean, you became a vocal choral a cappella household name, and tell us about some of the concert highlights for amarcord over the years.
Give me a second to finish the development, maybe. So that was before 2000, and in the 99-2000 there was the need, since we all studied different things. Now we have three studied singers in the group, and one guy for German culture and literature, and one ENT, ear, nose, throat doctor. Daniel is an ENT. So in those days we had actually two doctors and the German culture guy, and they wanted to go somewhere else for half a year at least, studying somewhere else. So we decided to do a sabbatical and then decide if we do it professionally, like really as our job, or if we keep it as a very serious hobby.
And that's always a really difficult decision, because
it is.
It's not whether you take this job that pays this amount of money or do this job that pays this amount of money. It's whether you take a huge risk at this point, because nobody knows whether it's going to really work. So this happened with the King Singers. They decided to give themselves a year at the beginning, or 5 years, to see if it worked, and everybody was telling them it wouldn't work. Nobody would want to see 6 guys singing. So how do you make that decision? Is it the love of singing alone?
We were, yeah, we were in a good position, I have to say. And I'm not really familiar if the King Singers may have been in that kind of position as well, because it was, yet in our personal lives, it was the right time to decide something like that.
Mm.
So we weren't married, we didn't have kids, we didn't have apartments to pay for. You know,
Yeah.
that is one idea of having a risk too. And so we were right at the point to decide something like that and go for it and see if it works. On the other hand, we were lucky because we were just, you know, in that time when CD selling was still something. You could sell CDs.
Mm-hmm.
You could not live from it that much anymore, but there was a market.
Mm.
And you know, there was many things that would, you know, support that decision. And now we have this digital thing. You get a cent or something, like a penny for 1,000 clicks. I mean, you cannot you know, feed you know, recording CDs or making recordings anymore. So we had a very good time, and the internet was just, you know, on the beginning for everyone. So it was the perfect time to take that decision, although we didn't know it in that time that this would be like that, or it would develop like that, either in our own career, nor in the world.
And did you know the concerts were there waiting for you? Did you know you could survive in Germany before traveling to other places? How did you know that it was going to work?
Well, funny thing, I was still studying, and some of us were still studying when we took the decision to go for it. So we wanted to, you know, to have a smooth transition to that career. But we wanted to go in that direction once we decided it. We knew that there is the concerts waiting, but we knew also that it's still not enough concerts to survive with a career. But since we were students, it was good to put it all together. And we found our manager in that time, and actually in the sabbatical, because I was joining a chamber choir project. You know, having figured out that I cannot survive if I stay here, and I don't have the group for at least a little extra money. So I was actually thinking of going out. You know, we had these evening newspaper sellers that were selling the newspaper of the next day already. And I always found that appealing. I found that cool to tell people stupid stuff about the newspaper of the next day. And I wanted to do that. And then came the chamber choir project. So I did that one. And on that, I met again another former St. Thomas's boy, Tobias Rosenthal, and he is our manager for 20 years now. So on that tour, we decided, let's give it a try. And so everything came together, and then suddenly we had this 110 concert schedule that was really working out for us.
Can you tell? I mean, you guys have been together for a long time, and unlike most groups, the turnover of singers has been, I would say, almost non-existent. I mean, there's been a few changes, but we see you guys and we know it's you. You have a relatively new second tenor, but what do you think has kept you all together? You know,
Yeah, I think there is reasons. There is reasons, but you know, especially when we are asked that question, we only reflect on it and we think about it. And one important thing is, and that actually was driving the decision to the really, really young new member, that we were all St. Thomas's boys. We were all in that place. We were singing. We were having our traditional passions a year. We were having traditional Christmas oratorio, and the Christmas celebrations in the boarding school. And all these things, we all experienced this, and that does something with you. And the spirit in that choir, the spirit in that city is special. And you can, well, once you get my age, you understand more and more about these things, and what is special about this city as well. You don't reflect on it when you're a young singer, but I think this is one of the important things, because you learned, especially in GDR times, when also the system within the boarding school was a little different. We only had one teacher, taking care in the week of all the 80-90 people, and the elder singers, 11th and 12th grade, they were responsible for certain things, of the younger ones. And so the responsibility and all these things made you grow and develop differently and quicker in certain parts. So I think all of that is one of parts of the secret why we are still together. So of course there is group dynamics. There's always. And everyone has his own circle, which is growing once you have family and other people in your friends circle. But at some point we all shook off certain how to say that, struggles. If you have struggled with each other, if you are not on the right track, on the same track all together, but you figure it out, and at some point we came there, and we are all on the same track. We know exactly what we want to achieve and where we want to end up, although there is, we have different goals, but we have one direction.
I think looking back at, certainly in my time with the King Singers, and we had quite a slow turnover compared to a lot of groups. We used to put a lot by the fact that we decided things as a group. Everything was decided as a group. Nobody was ever telling the group what to do from outside, and even musically we had the responsibility of creating things together. Yes, some people might push a project, depending whether it was early music, or somebody might take on a recording project and kind of give it some energy. But musically in rehearsals, we were all equal. And we always said, no matter if you're a new guy in the group or you've been in the group for 20 years, everybody's having that same voice, and you quickly become very much, you go on stage, and what you present you feel in agreement. There's no kind of animosity that somebody is telling you this and it's not what you believe, or the repertoire is not what you would have chosen, because this kind of choral democracy happens. And I think that really counts. Yes, groups have infighting, groups disagree, groups have to find a way forward from opposing ideas, but it's the process of being a part, a kind of part of that democratic planning, really, that gives you
the outcome. And the outcome. This is the point. Well, this is an insight. Some years ago, I came to that. I mean, it's a very simple phrase, but if you many of my decisions now go, back to that phrase after I asked myself, what is the consequence? And if you figure out that the consequence of having a fight doesn't make things now better in the foreseeable future, why having that fight now? I mean, foreseeable in the meaning of like today or tomorrow. why having that fight now? You know, or does it have a consequence to question a decision for a certain repertory? Does it have a consequence for the concert or not? Things like that. So what's the consequence is really my motto now.
I've said this many times. You know, we used to let school groups, college groups, sometimes come into our rehearsals, and I think they were expecting for a kind of a free concert, as if it was going to be like a dress run, and that all they saw was 6 guys kind of looking a bit pensive and chatting and trying a few chords or a few different versions of an ending, slower or a bit faster or different kind of tone, and then quiet, and then some people nodding, and then that was it. And I think a lot of people were disappointed at that, but actually what they were seeing was a group going through the process of everybody being heard, so that you iron out. Everybody feels that there, and everybody walks onto a stage then feeling that they kind of have an ownership of this product, of this creative moment, and I think that's really important. And I look at some groups who have had huge changes over the years, and I wonder whether once you have a musical director, and I was chatting to Eric about this from Chanticleer, once you have a musical director, whether that takes away a little bit of the ownership of the musical ownership, and whether it takes away, and maybe that's perhaps why some changes are more frequent. I don't know. I think it's a very subtle, I know we've talked about this in the past, it's a subtle psychological feeling of being there rather than being somewhere down a tier level. You know, it's great to join a group and feel I remember standing next to Simon Carrington, who'd been doing the job for 20 years. And in the first rehearsals, I could make suggestions to him to change the way he sounded. Wow. And this is a guy I'd been listening to for basically 20 years. But that kind of changes the way you feel about your position.
And that was actually one thing I really quickly realized in our group too. I remember very vividly that in the first rehearsal, I couldn't get to overcome a certain problem in the music, and they were telling me, we all have these spots that we need more time for, or something like that. That is so, it's so in me that they came with this graciousness towards me, that I was able to make this mistake, and they would not having a strange thought about me, that I'm not capable. And this is in the group. Has always been in the group. And I enjoyed very much when I joined the group in '95. Well, let me come back to your question. What is one of your secrets? I think it is the chemistry. It really is the chemistry. And we have, since I told you, we have this ENT, and we have the literature, Holger. This is so many influences into the way the group thinks about how to make music, and how to build programs, how to work with students, how to approach the audience. All these things. It's so interesting. I really enjoyed it so much, being together with this bunch of people. They all have their own character and personality, but we have this musical talk when we sing, and also, aside from singing, when we talk about politics or stuff, it's just on such a fantastic level that I feel, and I think everyone feels so well with. So this is I think this is one of the secrets. And when I started singing with the group, I remember also for my development, I had the chance to step out of the group and perform a little more than just being one of 5 or one of 6. but I didn't have to, and that was helping me. I came from Kreuzchor, went smoothly over to the Thomaner chord, and then from the Thomaner chord I went smoothly over to amarcord, and from amarcord I started studying the voice. So things were really going well for me in that sense. So
tell me a little bit about marrying both ensemble singing and stepping out to do solo singing, because not many people manage that in this business. It's kind of usually one or the other, because one kind of almost helps one neglect, that kind of different energy of singing and different projection as a soloist. But you do marry both those quite well together. Am I right in thinking?
Yes. Where to start? Because studying voice was a decision that I took for myself, since we had and still have this philosophy: everyone in the group should be able to do something without the group. Once, heaven forbid that something happens, but once the group would close. So that was the decision that I studied voice anyway, but that was also the decision that some did literature on, and the medicine. I mean, medical studies are just amazing that he did. I mean, he's a brilliant mind, because he was able to do that in the time. He was not extending his studies. He was doing it in the time, aside from the group. Anyway, so it is important to me, and the group has the philosophy that the things that are important to each of its members are important for the group. So they were allowing me to do these solo things on the side. And it's also, once you are, bound in that group family, and as a group, you have experiences with other musicians, or we had the workshops and all that, but that is some time ago. The regular influences that you get are always together in the group. But if you do things outside the group, that can also bring new impulse to the group, to the group's work, and we saw all that, and so it was no problem at all that I do that on the side. And I had the chances to work with some quite famous conductors as well over the years, and it really it helps the group as well. The group is happy, to have that being possible. And I managed to do it. Of course, the group is number one, and since we all live from it now, and have families and responsibilities, everyone decides responsibly with things like that. I would never ask to be free for a solo gig if I knew that there is a tour or something that is with the group.
Yeah.
But we make it possible for each other to do things like this. And I think this is one more thing that really gets us together, because we have a right to veto. We do. But I don't recall any time that this happened, because we don't deny each other the right to veto, but we use it very, very responsibly, and we have the trust in each other that we would. So it is possible, and that's why I was able to do it, and I like it very much. I just love to be evangelist or something like that.
Yeah,
I love it, and I think I I can give it, you know, my own reflection, the stories or the cantatas and
Oh, excellent. I was eager to hear about some concert highlights before. I love to hear about other people's concert highlights and what performance memories really kind of stick. You know, you've done probably thousands of concerts by now, all over the world. Tell us about a few.
Well, what I really, and that should not sound weird in any way, what I really am thankful for is, you know, in this career, to have been to almost 60 countries in the world, and to have been able to really learn about other cultures and other cultural circles. It puts together, you know, it will never be a full picture of the meaning of life, except the Monty Python movie, but but it puts together piece by piece of what we are here for, and to understand what's going on. And in the end, we are all, you know, we're all longing for love and security, and these things are so much important, more important than other things. So that, you know, that is first. But we love the audiences in Asia, and that was that was great. And we were doing this arrangement that I was asking a friend to do with computer game music, the Sonic the Hedgehog and Mario Bros. And we were announcing it as a traditional Japanese folk song, and they were just going wild when we were singing that. The reception was just so fantastic.
Yeah.
I can't forget that at all. And of course, being the first time in Australia, that was very special for us. It was on a tour. We did some tours with the Goethe Institute, which is the German language culture institute that you have in many countries. And they also were very keen of you know, the artists that go there, that go with them, to meet people in that country and to have an exchange, the cultural exchange. So we had this Southeast Asia tour for 4 or 5 weeks or something, a awfully long tour, and I was freshly in love with someone, and for me it was really a burden to go on tour for so long. And but the tour was so fantastic. Vietnam. When do you ever go to Vietnam? You know, for giving a concert and meeting people there, singing, you know, a little Vietnamese song for them, and the reception was so special. Africa also really was very special for me. We sang together with a youth choir there, and a Ghanaian song. These are the things that really impressed me and are with me in my heart, and we carry through our career. But there's also the funny moments. There's also the funny moments, actually. On that Southeast Asian tour, there was this moment. We had to sing a concert in a TV studio. It was a concert, but it was, I mean, it was really a live concert, but it was also a live transmission, a live, not recording, a broadcast.
Yeah.
And we arrived there. The hotel was like 45 minutes away. We arrived there, we had our sound check. And like half an hour before the concert, we were changing. And Holger realized that his trousers, his concert trousers of the suit, were not there. They fell off the hanger.
It's always concert trousers. It's always concert trousers.
But no one of us had any black trousers on, so we were looking for a solution and he ended up changing trousers with someone from the audience in the restroom for the first half of the concert, and they sent someone to the hotel to get his trousers because it was live on TV. He had to have black trousers. That was one thing, and the other thing was we had a concert with our former second tenor Dietrich. We were doing a piece, so that must have been in the beginning of the 2000s. We were doing a piece in Salata Italiana, and in that one, well, it's a hit with choirs and it's a hit with lots of people. We don't do it anymore, yeah. But we were pretending that the tenor that we invited to sing with us didn't arrive yet, and we were sending Dietrich to go and look if he can find him somewhere. And then Dietrich comes back and sings the tenor role, and he decided to dress up like Pavarotti, something we didn't know before, how he dresses up for that appearance in the piece. And he came in like Pavarotti, and we couldn't hold it. I think only Daniel didn't stop singing. Everyone else was just falling down laughing. So that is the things that you live for.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us a little bit about this wonderful broadcast, TV broadcast with Hit the Road Jack. Tell us a little bit about that. Our folks have got to see this, and there's a lovely story behind that.
Come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more. No. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more. No. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more. Now, baby, listen, baby, don't treat me this way. Baby, I'll be back on my feet someday. I don't care if you do, 'cause I understood you ain't nobody. You just look rude, I guess if you said so, I'd pack my things and go. Hit the road, Jack. Jack. Hit the road, Jack.
That must have been 2006 or 7 or something. No. Wrong. It must have been like 2011, I think. And we were in a TV show that was about classical music and jazz music. And the host is a jazz pianist, a very nice guy, very, very talented. He plays, I don't know, 100 instruments or something, but he's a pianist. Most of the times. And we were in that show, and for the final piece we were doing Hit the Road Jack, and he was improvising on our a cappella arrangement, and his band was also playing along. And since that was the end of the show, after the piece closed, they were doing some kind of outro with Hit the Road Jack, and the guests came in, the other guests of that show, and it was Jamie Cullum and Max Mutzke and Katja Bunchashvili, I think, the pianist. Max Mutzke is a German jazz singer as well, and they were it was like a jam session, and you can see a bit of that before they take it out, but it was so fun. jamming with Jamie Cullum about Hit the
Yeah.
Road Jack. It was just a lot of fun.
Amazing. I've saved one of my personal highlights of Amarcord until near the end, which is this amazing legacy you've left the a cappella world in the form of your a cappella festival in Leipzig. And if I have one regret in my kind of tenure with the King Singers, is that we didn't do the same thing. Because what you've created is something incredibly special in Leipzig. I've been lucky enough to be a part of it as a performer in the festival, and I've been lucky enough to be asked to come and adjudicate as part of the competition, and more recent years doing some workshops for you guys. It is a fantastic thing, and it must take so much energy. Tell us something about how the idea for this came about, how it grew, and how the whole of Leipzig becomes a cappella for those weeks.
Well, first of all, also, although there is not the name King Singers in it, but there is so much of you in that festival and competition. As a singer and as a human being, actually, because we had these influential meetings, not meetings. What's the word? When you meet over the career, this is what I mean.
Crossways with
so many wonderful human beings, of which you are one amazing. So there is a lot of you in that festival too. So no regrets.
Yeah.
We started with that festival in '97 already, when we were not even decided of doing this as a career, as Amarcord, as the group. But we thought, wow, 5 years being together, this is something we should celebrate. And we went to some competitions, and we did this workshop with the Hilliard Ensemble, and we met other groups, and we invited other groups to come to that 5-year celebration. And we quickly figured out that there could be a form that we could offer here in Leipzig with our niche, with our music. And that there is a need in Leipzig for that kind of, festival. So in '99, in those days, we did it every other year. In '99, we already had you actually in St. Thomas's Church. And we decided more from a festival presenter perspective. Although it was always important to have younger groups and unknown groups in the festival, we thought about highlights for every festival as well. And that's how it developed. And at some point we decided it's easier to get sponsors on board and to have the whole financial background if you do it every year, which sounds a little strange, but if you understand that being there for a regular festival, a regular event, it makes it easier for people to know what they are getting. Like the sponsors, what kind of display they have, and what kind of
and you have incredibly loyal audiences. I've seen them.
Absolutely.
I've been to concerts every year for a few years now in your festival, and they are incredibly loyal and across the ages. I mean, you are bringing a cappella music from around the world to a huge kind of variety of age groups and musical tastes.
But this is, usually classical music in these days has a lot of elder people, in the concerts, because they grew up with that education and all what we talked about. But what we have here in Leipzig is, the tradition is a little bit more alive, and we are a university city. We have a lot of young people here students, and we have an amazing cultural life in that city, and it all gets consumed. So there is, and I talked to you about the spirit. There is a spirit in Leipzig, which is helping that as well. So yes, you have to try to get the audience, but in Leipzig, I would assume it's a little bit easier because they are so culturally interested in that city for many reasons. And yeah, well, at some point we decided we want to hand out a youngsters award for young a cappella groups, and we awarded that every festival then, I think for 3 or 4 years. And then we thought of, well, why not doing a competition as well for that prize? So you have more young groups, and they can meet, they can compete, but it's not about the competition, it's more about meeting each other. And what we always enjoyed, be it outside when we are in other festivals and listen to other musicians or artists, that we enjoy the influence that could give us the impulse, or be it in our festival, that we listen to all these different approaches of doing a cappella music, and giving the opportunity to the young groups with that competition. They get cheaper prices for the concert tickets as well, and they can be around the headliners. They can be around the stars of the scene. That was a thought that we thought is worth doing, and so
and if they
created
win, they become part of the next festival.
Yes, and already part of the final concert of that festival in which they won. And that means singing for 20 minutes in the biggest concert hall of Leipzig with 2,000 people in the audience, all hungry for a cappella. This is,
I mean, the famous Gewandhaus, people hanging from the beams. I mean, it's quite a scary atmosphere.
It is.
But it's an amazing concert. And I was just going to ask you, how does it feel at the end of such a busy week for you guys, where you're presenting and doing a lot of speaking, a lot of speeches, a lot of introducing groups, incredibly beautifully professionally done, with such presence? How does it then feel at the end to have to stand up and sing, having had to do that on a smaller version in Lübeck, where everybody else has been singing, and then you have to stand up and do it? It's quite a moment, isn't it? I expect.
Yeah, it is, and it always haunts us. It's very.
I know that feeling.
It's really haunting. But on the other hand, we all get older, and I came to the point that I actually. I know what we can do, and this. I know we can do it, and let me just not be haunted by it. Just go out and do it, and in the end, it is as good as you can do it now. I don't want I don't want to look for excuses if it wasn't perfect, and as you know, we professionals, we are never perfect on stage. No one knows that, but we.
I mean, the difficult thing is to try and enjoy that moment, isn't it?
Exactly.
With the pressure.
And this is what weighs most for us. Although it is, it's a sweaty day, and the final day is always very sweaty because we always want to decide over the week. What is the order of the groups in the final concerts, and who is doing which announcement? We always wanted to do it earlier in the week, but it ends up being on the second last or the last day. So then you start writing down your speech, or what you should not forget, because you have sponsors, you have people that you really want to thank, because I mean, you want to do it from the bottom of your heart, but it's a problem if you forget it, you know, and it's so easy to forget it on a day like that. So you have to write it down. And
well, you guys, I have no fear. You guys carry that whole event. I mean, you are personalities in that event, and you carry the whole thing with such professionalism, but also quite a lot of humility. I do remember that concert where you presented the Kingsingers in St. Thomas's, and checking tickets at the door and letting people in. You know, that takes a lot. That takes a lot. That takes a lot of.
But that's the funny
that.
thing. That's the funny thing. We, I think we are, and when you ask, you know, when I come back to the beginning of our talk, when you ask what is the secret of the group, it's also that we did everything from scratch on our own. We know what it is like to do the catering for the groups in the festival. We know what it's like to pick up everyone from the airport ourselves. That is how this started, and it's the same with amarcord. We did everything. We went over the villages to sing because we wanted to sing. We decided to found our own a CD label because we didn't want to be, abhängig, dependent. We didn't want to depend on CD companies, what they tell us to do, what we should do.
We've all been there.
That was the days when it was like that, because they were also paying you. But that was the reason why we founded our own CD label, and this is all. I think this is all amarcord. We are not like over proud of it. It's just who we are. I think we started the things from scratch, and that's how we are now.
Yeah, I remember I learned so much working with two of the original Kingsingers who had built from scratch, from going around English schools, their old schools, and performing to doing their first tour, and they never lost sight of that, how things built up. It's quite easy when you join a famous group to think you are famous. That's it. And it's very easy to lose sight of where those groups come from.
But this is the chemistry also in our group, because some of us were earlier there, like with the mind to be more humble. Some of us not, but it was always balancing out. And
sure.
I would say I will say it helped me extremely to be with the other guys, for my personality, for everything I am, and I always enjoyed. Still, I always enjoy being with them and having the exchanges. Getting somewhere together. Right before the first lockdown in spring, we did a clausura. I don't know if this is the English word. Like 2 or 3 days, talking about where we are, what to do, and, just to balance ourselves in as a group again. And then the lockdown came. But in that time also we rehearsed this. There's a cycle by Stanford, the English composer. Yeah. Is he English or Irish? But,
well, his good stuff is English.
Yeah. Funny. Okay, fun part. He studied in Leipzig.
Really?
Yeah, and this is the reason why we came to that cycle, and we were working on that music, and really I was calling Daniel after the rehearsal. I told him, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. It was such a good rehearsal, working on music and knowing that we can have this talk without speaking, only with singing, so intensively. And we still and always, hopefully always, will have these experiences. And it's just, I think we carry on for another 28 or some years.
That's great to hear. I really wish you all the best with that. Just finally, it has been a difficult year. It's difficult for performers, for musicians. It's difficult for concert goers, for plans. We don't know what's coming in the months ahead. Nobody could have foreseen this year happening. I mean, it's taken everybody by surprise. Here in England, groups who are starting out may never even reach a professional career because they may never have the concerts to provide an income. I mean, at the end of the day, as professionals, it has to provide an income. We do it for the love of it, but there is the kind of the career side of things. How for
the politics mistakenly think you will get through this because you're creative and you do it anyway for the love of music and the love of what you do. But that is it's a wrong perception.
How are you guys faring with plans and being able to plan at all with what's coming up? Are you remaining just completely flexible? How are things for you guys at the moment?
This is a big topic, actually, because of course we had to stay silent for a long time, and we stayed away from each other in the beginning, only doing Zoom meetings. And it was an extremely sad time. I remember really when they were extending the lockdown in spring here, with words that the head of the conservatory here in Leipzig just yesterday wrote a letter about the wording of these rulings, the way they say it, and they were just locking us down, as I said, in a lockdown light, which means no cultural events, no restaurant going and stuff, but they keep the schools and the kindergartens open. But they say it is, we now have to refrain from the entertainment, and we can do that. It's, kind of just entertainment. It's not. It's a whole industry, and it's lives, it's families, and all that. And so there was this moment where extending the lockdown with a very harsh wording for a soul like us, for souls like us, And I was just laying in bed, looking, watching the white wall, and I just didn't know what to think, because really it was really heartbreaking, all of it, and the lose of control and the lose of a horizon where you didn't see any. What are you working for? No one pays you. I mean, this is the strange thing, and I just. Over the last days, I came to that conclusion that governments should buy the artists and give the artists to the society, because we are important for the soul of society. And
culture will die without it. If this goes on too long.
Exactly, and I just don't understand why they don't see it. And I was giving an interview right in the beginning of the first, when the problems hit here, a long interview for the newspaper, which caused reactions. But I saw it all coming. the way it will play out, and nothing changed from March to July to August. Now they're thinking about helping us, and as I understand, I am in contact with Stephen Harold as well once in a while. As I understand, they are doing more for us here in Germany for the artists than they do in England, in Great Britain. And if I see what they do here, and they were just putting financial support how to say that, it doesn't reach us. They put it right next to us, not for us. They just put it next to us. And if I see that here, that I cannot imagine how artists in the UK must feel and are. But as a group, we try to. We had these discussions. We had discussions if we should go for a different, income for at least for some months to find out if we can make money somehow else.
Yeah.
But we got supporters. We have supporters. We have friends that also had to do with us in connection with the festival. And actually, the festival, we had to do some digital stuff, but so many people just didn't give back their tickets. They just left it like it is. And so many people, sponsors, stayed with the festival, although we didn't really do a concert.
That's good to hear.
So we do have a lot of support, not only idealistic support. We also have some support that can keep us at the job. So at the moment, we are there to stay with it and to be able to plan ahead. We have a full month for December. God knows if any of that happens. But now with the second lockdown, they were offering, at least they made promises to pay or to give us money for not being able to give concerts. The artists, the freelancers in Germany that are depending on that.
Well, as we say, toy, toy, toy. My heart goes out to you. It's the unknowing, really. We can make plans for any eventualities, but it's the not knowing. Let's hope this is soon behind us, and let's hope that Leipzig is singing once again. Hopefully in the summer, and let's hope amarcord is heard again. Wolfram Lattke, you've given so much. Thank you. This is me publicly saying thank you guys for leaving such a wonderful legacy. I'm looking forward to you taking it up again after this silence. Thanks ever so much.
Thank you.
We'll speak again. Hopefully not too soon on Zoom. See you.
Not through Zoom.
Bye.